Great to have you with us. Now, the Supreme Court will today rule on a motion filed by businessman Alfred Woyome seeking to halt all proceedings before the court in relation to repayment of the 51.2 million cedis debt owed to the state. The motion wants the court to hold on to all matters, including his oral examination, until a determination of another related case being heard as the African Court on Human Rights and People in Arusha, Tanzania. There is more in the following news desk report.
Lawyers for the businessman last week argued allowing the states to continue with the process of retrieving the money would invariably affect decision of the African Court, which he noted would infringe on the human rights of the businessman. Deputy Attorney General Godfrey Dame objected to the claims. Well, the African Human Rights Court has ordered government to halt steps to retrieve the amount said to have been wrongfully paid to the businessman, in a decision that will come as a huge relief for the applicant. The court said the attempt by government to sell properties of the businessman is likely to prejudice the case brought before it by Mr. Woyome. In a November 24 ruling, the 11-member panel, presided over by Sylvian Ora, said the African Human Rights Court has jurisdiction over the matter and will take steps to preside over same. The court said it took the decision to grant the request for interim measures because a substantial injustice will be done to Mr. Woyome if the state of Ghana is allowed to auction his properties and the court later decides in his favor. We wait to see if this would have any bearing on today's ruling at the Supreme Court.
My colleague Joseph Akable joins us from the court with what you should expect.
At the first has to do with questions being raised as to whether the Supreme Court can continue to hear any matter relating to the repayment of the judgment that, as far as the case pens before the African Court on Human and People's Rights. The second one seeks to stop the oral examination entirely. Now, today's ruling is interesting because of the recent ruling coming from the African Court on Human and People's Rights. Now, that ruling says that the government should halt any attempt to sell off assets belonging to the businessman. So that is a ruling in favor of the businessman that certainly the court may have been furnished with by lawyers from the businessman. In terms of the arguments that were advanced last week, the businessman lawyers argued that since there is a case at a higher body referring to the court outside the country, and they say that we have signed on to that charter, it was only appropriate that the court holds on to any matter relating to that repayment, and this includes the oral examination. Now, what we need to understand is that the oral examination is an exercise that is being carried out by government officials with the aim of identifying properties and assets belonging to the businessman to enable sale of those assets to offset the debt. So it becomes interesting because already that ruling that has come says that you shouldn't sell the assets anymore. So what remains to be seen is what the 5-member panel will be saying this morning. Just a short while ago, the state's attorneys, as well as the Deputy Attorney General Godfrey Dame, who has for some time now been leading the charge for the state in terms of retrieval of this amount of money, walked into the main Supreme Court premises. The building right behind me is where hearing of this matter will be taking place, and we expect that ruling to be coming from the judges of the Supreme Court. So we'll be keeping our eyes and ears right here to bring you the very latest from the Supreme Court as to whether the Supreme Court will put on hold all matters related to repayment of the money, or they will allow the oral examination and other matters before the court to continue. From the Supreme Court, I'm Joseph Akable.
Certainly an eventful day at the Supreme Court today, and stay tuned to join us for all the latest from that case.